know, you see all these promo videos and you're like, yes, like this is what my summer is gonna be like too. Summer's gonna be so fantastic. And like, you know, I'm gonna make so many friends and like I'll be going to Israel, like that's so awesome. And then they're like, well, it's gonna be online, and I was so sad.
I thought it was like better than nothing, you know, like I was like, okay, like at least I'll have something to do. Like it's probably gonna be really disappointing.
Oh my gosh, my expectations were that it would be like Zoom school, that it would be long and boring and people talking at us.
I wasn't anticipating that we would actually be able to like connect as friends. And I thought that each person would just kind of blend in as like a mass of 25 people who I'm Zooming with.
Like, there's no like seeing each other as at the dining hall and talking just because. There's no like, this is your roommate, so you have to talk to them.
Everything online is much more deliberate because you have to like press to text someone or decide to FaceTime someone at some point, or like purposefully reach out and create these bonds and relationships, which was harder, especially in the beginning.
The core of it all is the question of connection between the cohort, and the tenuousness of connection is that exists anyway in the real as in the virtual. It's only more emphasized in the virtual. It's laid bare.
So when COVID hit, I knew that we needed to stick to the core of our mission, to really focus on building a group that could learn from one another, to provide excellent Jewish learning experiences and exposure, and to also really invest in the individuals to help them have a personal growth journey.
For many American Jews, what that means is that Israel has to be a Jewish state, but it also has to be democratic, right? This idea of Jewish and democratic, this is why the idea of a two-state solution is so powerful within the United States and among American Jews.
Every time we got into a discussion, I feel like my views shifted. Not even because necessarily somebody was trying to convince me, but because I learned more, I heard from different perspectives.
They kind of just pushed me in like every direction and caused me to be like, oh, like, well, what about that? That doesn't make sense. Or, oh, like that, but that doesn't make sense there either. I got to like prod a little bit and be like, what does that mean? Like, why? How can you not be a feminist?
Can you accept a certain part of something while rejecting another? If you can reject Judaism or some parts of it, like, to where do you draw the line?
We read As a Driven Leaf by Milton Steinberg. Elisha Ben Abuya's thing was that once he decided that he didn't believe in God, he just abandoned the whole thing. I had already decided that I didn't believe in God, but still felt Jewish. Like I was thinking, like, I don't know how I still feel Jewish, but I am still Jewish. I realized implicitly by the end and throughout the summer that it was possible to synthesize those two again.
Like, there were definitely texts that I still think about every single day. Still, I'm like, oh my God, that's like that Derrida text. Oh my God, that's like that speaker that we heard from. Oh, that's like the Aleppo Codex.
My favorite text was we did this one called Before the Law by Kafka, and that was like, I was not expecting to love it, and then I read it, and it was like my mind was blown.
I was really surprised about relevance and poignancy of studying Kafka this year. And maybe it should not be surprising because, I have never experienced reality as Kafkaesque. It's kind of like this very, very difficult loop that is also occurring, obviously, in and out.
Ahad Ha'am was really interesting to me because to think that his premise was the Jewish people needed a cultural revolution and not necessarily a state.
His entire shiur was just like a moment of understanding why people were so obsessed with the Talmud. So many interpretations and none of them are wrong.
I think our times, the times we're in today, really require young people not only to be treated with respect and taken seriously, which is a core ethos of the Bronfman Fellowship, but also to have room to take responsibility. We need their moral voices and their leadership now. And the fellowship really has an obligation to help make that possible and to accelerate that.
The idea of creating an arts track in Bronfman context was to create a connection between the intellectual learning, between study of texts and also creating. So you're not engaging in text passively, you're kind of extending and expanding and then becoming more active in your engagement with text.
We were making the art that related to like whatever we were learning. So the first step, it was like I, thou, based on Martin Buber. And we sculpted and we wove, and it was such a unifying tactile experience that we were all doing the same activity, even though we're hundreds of miles apart.
There's a song that is used a lot in gospel, and it's I'll Fly Away, and it goes, I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. So music, we were supposed to have like some sort of like draft, and I figured, you know what, why not? I'll put it into a song.
The Pluralistic News Network, that started as, it's just sort of a dumb, like sort of The Onion type thing for Bronfman. One of them was something like fellows locked in pluralistic debate over a logistical question. And it was like, one person was like, oh, wait, so like, what are we doing once we get into the breakout rooms? And then they had, and then it gets into kind of a classic Bronfman debate of like, existentialism and whatnot. Let's see. U.S. enters second Cold War due to heated Marxism debate in Bronfman group chat.
After our nightly programming, we would just like all stay on for like what sometimes would end up being like 7 hours, which is like ridiculous thinking about it because it's so much time. But it would be like 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. and then it'd be like the next thing like be like 5 a.m.
One person's like reading the Communist Manifesto, and like one person's like praying, and like one person is like falling asleep, and like just stuff like that. Like we would talk about God, like we would talk about like economic theories.
There was a huge debate about whether a banana has like a front or like a top and a bottom, like crazy debate.
Those late night talks were like, I don't know, they were really nice. I think those were really the moments that like I'm gonna keep with me for a long time.
Like at first I thought it wasn't gonna work. Like I thought that people would be like too shy. Like I was too shy to like want to do something at first over Zoom. But then, just sort of, we started doing it. Everyone started like sharing their art. People started singing. People started like telling jokes, doing comedy, reading poetry. And it was just such like a beautiful experience because everyone was just being so like loving and caring towards each other. We were all like hyping each other up.
It ranged from all the way from like very silly and kind of frivolous and fun to like very, like I feel like I got a much deeper understanding of who these people were. And it was like one of those, it felt like being together in a room in some way, like just like we were together as a cohort and we were all like giving into this space together.
This beautiful group of fellows who would laugh and dance and say the most profound things. Relationships were formed and growth occurred because the fellows put their whole selves into this experience and had a mindset that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They were not going to squander it.
So like, if anybody is thinking that this summer was a total loss, that's such a lie. It was great and I learned so much. And I think this is the most I've learned in a summer and definitely the most I've learned from a program, I think including school.
I don't think I've ever enjoyed learning as much as like even in person, as much as I have on like virtual Bronfmans.
The way that I like talk to people that I don't agree with has changed. It just has.
You felt like, you were there with each other and like you were talking in person and like you were having intense conversations and you were, singing together.
It was really just about us, coming together and, finding things to make us laugh and finding things to make us think. And it was, there was a real beauty in it that, all of us were in precarious situations because everybody in the world is in a precarious situation. And it was just kind of like, there was something really special about it.